Hey. So this is a follow-up to yesterday's video or the prior video on the Leadership book. This is by John C. Maxwell. It's all about mindset shifts that leaders need or must have in order to become more effective, especially nowadays that data is moving so fast and things are changing so quickly that long term is no longer 3 5 years. It's now like 6 months or 3 months sometimes. Some things come up. There are things that are changing all the time. So if you're still thinking like yesterday and you still think about problems the exact way that you have been thinking about so far, it could possibly happen that those methods no longer work. So to review the prior video, and we're talking about chapter 3, shifting from goals to growth, and I covered 5 things, 5 shifts. Those were growing in everything to growing in essentials, growing with a timeline to growing without a finish line, how long will it take to how far can I go, fall out of love with the destination to fall in love with the journey, and then from doing to being. So in this one, I'm just going to touch briefly, just mention the few pointers that Maxwell, or John in this case, my friend, he says in terms of things that you can try to do or start doing in order to create and start working the shifting from goal mindset to growth mindset. So the first one he talks about embrace change, and this is about not thinking in terms of you want the change because you're trying to run away from something, but you're trying to go into something. You're purposely looking forward to changing into whatever it is that you're looking for. One of the examples that I run to my clients a lot of times when they're unhappy, when they're feeling stuck, or they're disappointed with their current work situation, they usually start talking about how their managers treat them badly, how work seems to be all about work, and then no relationships are happening, and nobody cares whether you're doing fine or not. It's all about producing results and things like that. So when they start thinking about, I'd say things like, I need to change jobs, I need to find something new, I need to do something else, they're usually thinking about leaving that painful environment, which it could be a good motivator, but if you don't know where you're headed, then it's almost like the same thing. You're more likely to end up in a similar situation because your reference point is a painful environment. Your mind is going to start looking for something allegedly better, but it could easily be something similar to your past. So in this situation, if you want to change from goal oriented to growth oriented, you want to be thinking about what are the environments or the new opportunities that are going to take you beyond your comfort zone at this moment. For me, it could be something as simple as I need to go learn how to speak to strangers. It's more about, or it could be something like, hey, I'm going to try something I've never done before. One of my mentors used to say, when's the last time you did something for the first time? So if you're purposely looking for places where you can grow, whether that's a new environment, talking to new people, reading a different book, trying a different show, just for the purpose of like challenging your thinking, that's going to help you start creating this mindset of shifting towards change and embracing it and engaging with it. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing the same things over and over, you're going to get stagnated. And if the world changes, for example, AI, if AI or driverless cars. A lot of people would think like because they've been driving taxis for many years, nothing's going to happen to them. Oh, people are always going to need taxis, but if cars start driving themselves, then that person's out of their job. Um, and if they never learned to try something new or learn something new, they're going to be in trouble. So that was point number 1. That's a little longer than I wanted. On the second one that he gives is make love of learning greater than the fear of failing. And this is also related to change. The point of love learning, like learn to love to learn. It's a different way of observing. To me, it's a different way of observing failure. It's a shift in perspective. We have been trained to think that if we fail, we're going to die. That if we fail, nothing good is ever going to happen to us. And the fact is that if you look at every successful individual out there, Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, those are the three names that come to mind. All of them have failed. All of them probably tried a business and it went bankrupt, or they had a huge mishap. It could be like wrong investments and they lost a lot of money. I think of Dave Ramsey's another one that he went bankrupt. I think of Steve Harvey, comedian. He went bankrupt. I think he said 3 times before he made it big. But if you learn to love learning from the failure, if you learn to look at failure not as a definition of you, but as an opportunity to learn what you do well, what you can improve, and what are the things that can excite you if you were to learn how to do them properly, that would keep you motivated to start thinking about, okay, how much farther can I go? How much more can I learn? How much faster can I get with a specific thing if I were to try it 1,000 times? So learn to love thinking about your mishaps, your obstacles, and your allegedly failures in more of a what can I learn from it? A lot of times I used to fail, whether that was like a meeting where I simply couldn't get my point across, or where I couldn't get people to buy into my idea. I would then start avoiding those situations, when instead I should have just thought about, okay, how did I say it? What was I trying to say? Who was in the room? How do they communicate? What are some better ways that I could have explained that? Or was I really passionate and engaging about the idea? Because sometimes it's the emotions that sell something. Uh, if you don't reflect on your failures, you are bound to repeat them again, just like I did with meetings. I'm blowing up in meetings over and over for 3 years, just hoping that things would change magically. And I never took the time to reflect on them. So learn to love learning. The third one is develop relationships with growing people. This concept is very related to the idea that if you were to play a sport and you always want to be playing with someone that's ahead of you, that's someone that's better than you, because it's going to challenge you to become better. It's going to challenge you to keep pushing hard. One of the things that comes to mind here is I remember someone that the person that introduced me to leadership development was, in my mind, was very ahead of me, and he pushed me to learn more about it, to express myself better, to learn how to influence people. And at some point, he stopped. At some point, he stopped developing. He got busy with work, and then all of a sudden, I see myself catching up, and sometimes even surpassing him, and the ideas and the concepts just became, I just noticed how quickly I caught up. So the idea of tagging or hanging out with people that are always growing is for us to simply keep pushing, to keep pushing higher, going higher, climbing higher, and learning new things. So that's the whole concept of how the 5 people that you're closest with is going to pretty much mold who you are. Same thing. Find ways to hang out and to spend time and discuss and argue and do whatever it is that you need to do with people that are always growing and developing themselves. It doesn't have to be in the area of leadership, or it doesn't have to be in the areas that you are, but it's just people that are inherently trying to get better. They're going to push you and they're going to motivate you to stay with it and just keep learning about you and the rest of the world. That's it. Number 4, this one's about believing in yourself, and the law here that he quotes is the law of the mirror, and this is from the 15 valuable laws of growth. And he starts talking. It's all about you must value yourself in order to grow yourself. Plain and simple. If you don't believe you can get better, if you don't believe that you can grow, if you don't believe that you can do better, it doesn't really matter what I say. It doesn't really matter how much money you pay somebody to teach you how to do something. You're just simply not going to implement it. You're going to find ways to sabotage yourself. You're going to find all kinds of reasons why it's not going to work. So, believing in yourself. It doesn't have to be magic. I think it for many of us is a journey. I had to learn. I'm still learning how to propose or promote my services, my coaching service, how I can help people. All these things I still need to learn. But it's good to take a moment to recognize the things you have accomplished. You have gotten this far for a reason. You have done a few things to survive this far. Find ways and examples of things that you've done well so you can start learning in confidence, and then find reasons to understand that you have learned to deal with change so far. That many things in technology have changed. You have learned how to do those. You learned how to drive, which you didn't know before until you just tried. You've learned to ride a bicycle. You've learned other things. You learned many things. So believe in yourself. That's number 4. Number 5, I think it's 2 more. Number 5 is embrace layered learning. This reminds me of the law. Is it the law of consistency? I think growth. It doesn't just happen in the day, but it kind of like stacks up. That's really the thought here. It's learning stacks up. As you become aware of something, on how something works that you didn't know before, you're always going to be aware of that. Once you become aware of something, it just never goes away. It's kind of like if you become aware that somebody lied to you, it's very unlikely you'll forget that happened, even if it's 15 years later. You're still probably going to remember it. In this situation, the idea of layered learning is more like the more things you learn about that specific subject or related subjects, it's just simply going to stack up, and it's just going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and your foundation to grow, to be more than just goal achieving and goal setting, it's just going to become exponential. So the concept here is just as simple as anything else. Kind of like I think of weightlifting. If you let squats, you can start. I remember the days when I couldn't squat the barbell, which is like 45 pounds, and I'm 200 pounds, and I couldn't squat that more than 10 times. But then over time, you just keep adding weight, and you just keep adding weight, and you keep adding weight, and you keep adding weight, and at some point you're like squatting 1.5 times your weight, or 100 pounds, 200 pounds. It doesn't really matter what you think is high weight, but that's the same concept. You're pushing so much more out, you're producing so much more, and that's just the result of consistently adding small pieces to your learning, to the things that you can do, to your talents, to your skill sets, and to how you can communicate with other people. So, and the last one is have an abundance mindset. This one, you've heard a lot. You've heard it so many different ways. A lot of people have challenges with this. I have challenges too, because sometimes I think that there are not enough clients out there for me to coach, especially when there are so many coaches out there. There are so many life coaches out there. There's always a bunch of everything. Notwithstanding, you can see things like Apple or Amazon or Google, they just keep growing, and you would think that by now they will just own the entire market. But the truth is that like they're not the only ones doing what they do. There are many competitors out there, and somehow all these competitors seem to be doing just fine. So the idea here is start thinking. The main reason why you want to focus on abundance mindset, it really has nothing to do, to me, it doesn't have anything to do or much to do with with you receiving resources. It's all about your mindset and attitude towards what you're doing. If you believe that there's there are always going to be resources for what you're trying to do, that opportunities will come, that people will help you, that others are going to try to improve upon what you're doing, you will have this energy and confidence to act in such a way that produces the results that you want. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, not because it's cliche, but simply because it's kind of like when you walk into a room. Like when you walk into a room and you can feel the energy of the room, you immediately say something's off, or there's something wrong with this person. I don't like how this person is talking to me. Something you can feel it, or you can go the other way around. Like you could say in 3-5 seconds, you could say, hey, that's an amazing person. The person could have just told you a couple of sentences, but then you leave that conversation thinking that they're amazing and you want to talk to them. Same thing. If you think about abundance, that things are going to happen, that the opportunities are out there, you're more likely to have an energy around you that will create the opportunities for you to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. So the seven things that he mentions, how-tos on shifting from goal to growth. 1, embrace change. The second, number 2, is learn to love learning greater than fear of failing. Number 3 is developing relationship with growing people. Number 4 is learn to believe in yourself. Number 5 is embrace layered learning. And number 6 is have an abundance mindset. Hopefully this gives you a few ideas or concepts for you to try. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Or if you just want to get the book, I'm probably going to be doing a mastermind on this book in a few months, and be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, have a good one. I'll see you in the future, see what I can come up with from this book or something else, and talk to you later.